Is the mitzvah of Shemitah in today's times a biblical or rabbinical obligation? So this matter, in practicality, is a machlokes amongst poskim, as we're going to elaborate and explain in today's lesson. There are many mitzvahs in the Torah that are contingent on different factors for them to be in effect. Some mitzvahs are dependent on living in Eretz Yisrael. Others are dependent on the establishment of the Beis Hamikdash. Others are dependent on the inhabitants of all the Jewish people in Eretz Yisrael. Others are dependent on the holiness of the land of Eretz Yisrael. And some are dependent on a number of these factors. So the question is, when we take a look at the mitzvah of Shemitah, what factors does the Torah depend the mitzvah on for this mitzvah of Shemitah to be biblical min ha-Torah? According to all opinions, the mitzvah of Shemitah is independent of the building of the temple. And therefore, even if the temple is not built, it is possible for the mitzvah of Shemitah to be min ha-Torah. In fact, the first cycles of the biblical Shemitah, that was observed by Klal Yisrael, was before the building of the temple, as we elaborated in yesterday's class, regarding that Bnei Yisrael first began keeping the years of Shemitah 14 years after they entered Eretz Yisrael, in which the temple was yet not built. According to all opinions, the mitzvah of Shemitah is dependent on the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael. This means as follows. Although, of course, Eretz Yisrael is called the Holy Land, there's a specific halachic context of holiness that Eretz Yisrael needs to receive. When Yeshua conquered Eretz Yisrael, it says that conquering of Eretz Yisrael entered holiness into the land and sanctified it. However, by the time of the first exile, of the first destruction of the first temple, when that took place, that holiness which was originally brought down by Yeshua was removed. And the land became desolate, not only of people, but of holiness itself. And the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael left. When Ezra came back by the time of the second temple, 70 years later, and he rebuilt Eretz Yisrael, so the holiness of Eretz Yisrael was re-given. And on this there's a machlokes regarding if this holiness is intact even today after the destruction of the second temple. Some Rishonim hold, based on the Gemara, that even today, this holiness is intact, and the holiness of Eretz Yisrael is from now on eternal and can never be removed. Meaning, when Ezra sanctified Eretz Yisrael, he sanctified it eternally. Others, however, rule that no, that Eretz Yisrael once again lost its halachic holiness, and hence all the mitzvahs dependent on the land lost their biblical status. According to all opinions, there were areas of land which the exile that returned from Babel did not sanctify, which was originally sanctified in the times of Yeshua. And these areas, according to all opinions, do not retain the biblical holiness, and Shemitah cannot be kept in those areas min ha-Torah. In any event, the conclusion, it ends up that there's a machlokes if today Eretz Yisrael contains the halachic holiness that is required to have a biblical mitzvah of Shemitah. And based on this, it would be disputed if the mitzvah is derabanan or deraisa. However, there's another very important factor that's also added into the equation. Even according to those poskim that hold that Eretz Yisrael retains its holiness even today, after the exile, there's another two possible conditions that are required to be fulfilled for Shemitah to be biblical. And that is the complete Jewish inhabitation of Eretz Yisrael and the following of the mitzvah of Yovel. There are poskim that learn that Shemitah is only biblically in effect when Yovel is acted, and Yovel is only acted when all the Jewish people live in Eretz Yisrael. Hence the conclusion. In the end of the day, there are some poskim that hold that the mitzvah of Shemitah today is min ha-Torah. That is the opinion of the Ramban, of the Chachamim in the Maseches Gittin. And the Kesef Mishnah writes that that's the opinion of the Rambam, as they hold that Shemitah is not dependent on Yovel, it's not dependent on Jewish inhabitation, and Eretz Yisrael has not lost its biblical holiness. Other poskim, however, rule that today Shemitah is only midrabanan. This is the opinion of Rebbe in Gittin. This is the simple opinion of the Rambam, unlike what the Kesef Mishnah writes in his name. And this is the opinion of many Rishonim, such as Rashi, Tosfos, the Ritva, the Smak, the Yereim. And this is what's ruled in Shulchanaruch, in the Torah in Yeredeya, and in the Beis Yosef in chapter 331. And so rules the Kesef Mishnah and many of today's poskim. The reason they hold it's only Midrabanan is because either the Eretz Yisrael today lost its biblical holiness after the destruction, or because not all Jews are living in Eretz Yisrael, or because Shemitah is dependent on Yovel. There is an opinion in the Rishonim from the Sefer HaTrumas, in the name of the Razah and the Meiri, that there is actually no obligation today, even rabbinically, to follow Shemitah. And it is only to be observed due to a midas chassidus, a scrupulous act. Practically, the majority of poskim negate this latter opinion, and the accepted halachic ruling is that Shemitah today is a rabbinical obligation.